Warning: the following broadcast features thoughts, ideas, and opinions you might find offensive. If you're easily angered, insulted, hurt, provoked, outraged, or annoyed, the following may offend you. The views expressed in this show are solely those of the individuals providing them and do not reflect the opinions of YouTube or Google. So please, don't flag this video. Viewer discretion is advised.
I hope we're live.
I think so.
Does it look like it? I hope so. There's a delay. So
yeah, I'm reading everyone. Hello, everyone.
Yes.
Oh my God. So many friends in the chat.
Hi,
Hello.
hi.
Oh my God. It's all my favies. Hello, guys. Hi.
Yes.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining.
Ooh, oh my gosh. When we were working on getting it live, so many of you guys came into the chat. Okay. Hi.
Oh, I love the background picture.
The background picture. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's in... You're like, where? Oh
my brain's in outer space right now.
I never see these until they're live, so that's fun. Okay, I'm nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, we're a little bit nervous. This is going to be kind of a different stream, but kind of the same. If you've been here before, we normally talk about controversial topics and themes in horror movies. And we've never done an October episode before because we're normally both super busy, so we just usually skip over it.
So Vicky is still super busy, by the way.
We figured half of us is only doing 13 reviews, so we could swing it. So we thought we'd do something like special for October and talk about like probably the most popular franchise in the horror community, or most of it, I feel like, right?
American.
Yeah, American, sure. yeah. That being the operative word.
Well, I mean, it's called Halloween, so you know what I mean?
True. That's true.
Which,
yeah. So this will be kind of like a little bit different. Like, I guess we're going to talk more about it together. I don't know. Do you want to?
Yeah, so usually we do it one by one and go through the themes of the different films and usually have a tying theme between them. But this time, because we're talking about almost the controversy is that there was a remake and everyone, we'll get into it, but everyone's thoughts on that and why that was controversial. It's probably better to just compare them as we go. I also want to say, if you guys do like this format, we can look into doing this like kind of remake stuff or another one in the future. Because I mean, we've talked about a lot of controversial topics, and although we always feel like we're running out and we always find more, but if this works well, we could probably find some other controversial remakes, which I'm sure there's a lot of them. Oh, yeah. I think of Black Christmas already, but we've already covered that. So I guess, like, where do we start? Because if we're not starting with one of them.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I
guess
I didn't really think about that.
If you haven't seen either of these spoilers,
spoilers. Yeah, I think that there'll definitely be spoilers, but I mean, they're slasher films. People die.
Yeah. That's true.
I don't think it's going to get into like the nitty gritty of like how, when, and whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to spoil them as much as other ones we do. But we're going all in. Yeah. Okay. So if we do spoil anything, yeah, for sure.
Just in case.
Okay. I mean, where do we start?
Yeah.
We didn't think about this far. I mean.
It's weird. We didn't plan too far because this is so much different. I think we can kind of start with the first one. I think let's just go right with into
let's just go with that, and then we can compare and contrast.
To compare it. That'll work. Let's do that.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a talking point that you want to start on? There's so much. I think as soon as we get gold wise, it's gonna be like, yeah.
I mean, to start, or both. I guess we can talk about the content of the movies first before we get into like fandom stuff and more general things. So I mean, like Emma said, these are both slasher movies, so they both kind of have like that psycho on the loose.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. Yeah, I see where you are now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, this is where we started, I guess. So, and this is going to be like the whole contrast of the two films is that in the original, 1978 film, Mike Myers is also known as the Shape, and I believe in the script he was just called the Shape originally. He's meant to embody the boogeyman, and they refer to this several times in the film. Please correct me if I'm wrong about the Shape in the original script, but I believe I'm right on that one. I did a piece for Dread Central about that. That's how I know about most of this stuff. And yeah, if I'm being an ignorant Australian, please let me know. But the whole point of Halloween is we're not meant to know who he is or really anything about him. He's meant to be the boogeyman. He's meant to embody like fear itself, and the shape of fear coming for you through the shadows. I always just think of like the closet scene because I think that that's probably the most iconic scene, where she's in the closet. But the crazy thing about it, which I mean crazy is interesting term to give it, is that they give him the smallest backstory in the original of being the psycho on the loose, which obviously does not age very well. And the only thing we know about him is that he committed a crime as a child, and then he was put into this psychiatric hospital, which he breaks out of, and he's on the loose. So someone with a mental health issue is, roaming the streets, and he must be stopped. It's pretty crazy when you think about that. And John Carpenter's like intent with him was to give no background, and that he actually says that he never wants the audience to relate with Michael Myers. I never know whether to call him Mike or nickname. Never know how. He doesn't want anyone to relate with Mike. Yeah. And that's why he was called the Shape, because he was meant to represent fear itself, which I think is really interesting. Thank you for your Nightmare Fuel, Horror Cash, which I think is really interesting. And I guess we're going to dive into it. That's like the whole theme of the original film, and how that was really flipped on its head, looking at Rob. No one get triggered. Rob Zombie's remake in 2007. Where he is given this extensive backstory, and I don't know if he's really meant to be. Would you say you sympathize with him in that character? Maybe because of his like home life. It's really the stepdad or whatever he is that's the worst.
Yeah. I think I do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, fine. I just think that it's hard to sympathize with him even then, because obviously he kills his family, but also and I think this is the worst bit, when he kills the what is he, like the guard who looks after him all those years, and he doesn't like give mercy to like this person who's looked after him, because at least that relationship from the start to the end. And I feel like that's when you realize that he has, well, I guess, Mike himself has no mercy, and he is a pure psychopath, which they say in the film, because obviously it doesn't matter those connections, or so I would kind of argue that you can't sympathize with him in both regard, like in both films and both backstories, but in the newer film, it's definitely the whole mental health aspect is looked at a lot more closely, I think, or delved into. What are your thoughts on this, Vicky?
I think that was an important thing that he did with that, like with him killing the security guard. That was nice to him. I think that was that exact purpose. I don't know for sure. I didn't like read any interviews or anything, but I feel like that drives home that there is that mental illness factor in there, and it's not just a product of his home life. So that way you don't actually sympathize with him at all, because if he had spared him, you'd kind of be like, aw, but you feel something when he dies, but Michael doesn't even spare that person. So
Yeah.
I think that to me, that was the purpose of that, is like they gave them a backstory. Yeah. And then just to also remind you that like, you're not meant to sympathize with him at all.
Yeah. Or as well, like, obviously, it's to show that he hasn't changed within that time of being in prison. Because how many years is it later? 20, 30? But when he goes into, sorry, not prison, but when he goes into the hospital, obviously he's killed his whole family. And within that time, you see, we're talking about the remake, by the way. Within that time, you see, you know, him making those masks and, you know, he's still doing those therapy sessions, even though the doctor says that, you know, he can't fix him and he can't help him.
Yeah.
And he's going through that whole process, and then you wonder when those guys, which is such an awful scene, when those guys break into the his cell, if they're going to, if he's going to react or what he's going to do. And I think him killing someone on the way out shows, okay, he's still a psychopath, like he's still down to kill whoever, regardless of relationships. But it doesn't really make much sense when he doesn't kill the baby. So how is he like this senseless killer, but then he spares the baby? It's like, I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think the big difference is that in the original, he is more a senseless killer because we don't have the motive. Like you said, it just opens with him killing his sister, and then it cuts to him escaping the psychiatric hospital years later, and then he's just randomly killing these teenagers, and it is like just like a random, like you have no idea. But with Rob Zombie's remake, it's very family driven. Like obviously him killing his family, like there's a purpose behind that. I mean, obviously his stepdad is like the most garbage human in a movie full of like pretty much all garbage people. Pretty much he is the king. Yeah. And he kills all the people that have like wronged him or he doesn't like his older sister, that bully also. So it seems very driven by something. So I think it makes a little bit more sense that he spares like the family members that he actually feels, I guess, a connection to, like his mom, who's very sweet to him, and his baby sister.
Well, his mom isn't even there, so we don't know what would have happened if she was there. But on that, something very interesting, the reasons to his killing, which, you know, he's a psychopath. We need to talk about the nudity. I know this is kind of jumping around, but because the film says a lot, the original film, and this is obviously something that they've been played off in other films like Scream. They talk about, you know, having sex and, you know, the virgin only lives and all this kind of stuff. I think it only applies to women, but, you know.
Right, yeah. It does.
Yeah. Which is interesting because they make it seem like, I'm sure you know, but for anyone who doesn't know, in the original, pretty much all the women die. I've noted it down. I went through and I scrolled through to see what happened. So 3 women survive in the original, and 3 women die, and they all die they all happen to be naked as well.
Yeah.
So like at one point, or have nudity. So the 3 women who survive are Michael Myers' mum, Laurie, and of course Lindsay. Yeah. So but the males, I listed 10 males, and I'm talking about people with speaking roles. There's 10 males and only 2 males die. I believe I got that right. I could be wrong. None of them are naked, which is really interesting because there's that whole famous scene with, you know, the teens that have sex. What's her name? Linda.
Yeah, Linda and Bob.
Yeah, I think. Linda and her boyfriend. I just wrote boyfriend. I think it's not called.
He doesn't deserve a name.
Yeah. And he has sex with her. You see her titties. You see her like naked, but you never see him naked. And it's so interesting. I know I'm getting really into this stuff already, but it's so interesting that she literally says to him, or he says to her after they have sex, "Don't put your clothes back on." And then he puts his clothes on and goes downstairs to get a beer. Like, he literally says, "Don't put your clothes back on." And then he puts his clothes on so he can die with some dignity, I guess.
Of course.
So, yeah, anyway, that's super interesting because I feel like we had to get into that too, because although they say it's not really the intention of the original, when in the remake, there's like a slight element of this kind of the nudity, or like when his sister is meant to be, like they say all this like really weird, I don't know, I feel like really gross about that because she's obviously underage.
Yeah.
They really ham up her sexuality, and it seems like, I don't know if it's just the way I'm perceiving it, but it seems like almost that Michael Myers kills other people who have sex because they remind him of his sister that was like sexualized. I don't know. I don't know what your take is on that.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that, especially with the first friend that dies in the Rob Zombie one, whose name I don't. Is she? Do they all have the same names? Is she still Linda in the?
I didn't write it down.
Yeah. in the remake, the first friend that dies. I think she might still have the same name. Because she, like, right after they have sex and then the boyfriend like puts on the clothes again to go get the beer or whatever, she starts listening to Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult, which is what the sister is listening to when she dies. So I feel like there is, especially with that one, I don't know, I'm sure you can definitely extend that to everyone else, but I feel like especially with that one, I also think it's a little bit everybody that interacts with Lori, yeah. I don't know why all of a sudden I thought that was not her name. I said it and I was like, that was wrong. Wait, no, it's not.
No.
Because he's like stalking her. We see her stalking her, and like every person that he sees interact with her also dies, like her parents, her other friends, things like that. He goes after.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But I think I think it's a little bit of both, because he's so driven by his family also. So it's not out of left field to also say he killed her friends because they were acting like sexualized, like his sister. I don't think that's wrong.
Thank you for your nightmare fuel, Jana.
Thank you, Jana.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It's very twisted because I guess in the remake they try and give so many answers to all of the questions we had in the original. I don't know actually if people really questioned anything in the original. But yeah, very interesting. I guess where do you want to go next? One thing I do want to talk about really super quickly is a lot of people and I've ranted and raved about this before. Oh, thank you for your Nightmare Fuel. I'm sorry, I'm reading it. Also seen this as okay. Weird.
Okay.
In the original, a lot of people don't talk about the dog death. And there's a dog that does die, and I mean, you don't see it on screen, but you definitely hear it, and it happens. And I just think it's quite interesting because a lot of people these days get really up in arms about movies that have animal deaths in them. Which, I mean, I get it, but it's a part of, like, it's a plot device, and it's not real. It's really sad, and obviously it's the way to sway the audience. But I just think it's really interesting because a lot of people refuse to watch any animal cruelty in movies, but then no one ever talks about this in Halloween. I just thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I guess maybe because it does happen like off screen, and it's not a big to do in the movie. Like,
but isn't that interesting that it isn't? Yeah. Then you think that they might as well just, since it's just a sound in the background, do without it.
Yeah,
it was just a weird thing to kind of gloss over.
That's a weird thing. I don't know, since we're talking about the sexualization of women, maybe, I mean, I have some things about,
go for it.
The intent a little bit. I don't know how much this matters, like what, like, iteration of the DVD I saw this on, but I have I think it's the 25th anniversary edition, like, on DVD, and I don't know if that matters, but I just put it in there anyway. But in the commentary for the movie, it's with John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, who both wrote the screenplay, and then obviously Carpenter directed it. But they talk about in the commentary about this idea that this their movie is one of those like proto slashers that helped like launch that, you know, like Vice precedes Slice and Dice, and we had so many that came after it, where it's like the virgin lives and the promiscuous girls die and everything. But they were talking about how, because we're always talking about intent on this show, which is it is important. How you view it is important also. But they said they didn't actually intend that to happen. Like when they were making the movie, that wasn't their original intent. They remarked that having the virgin survive was not their intention. Rather, they said it was like a matter of being distracted. So Laurie's friends were distracted by their boyfriends and getting together with them, and Laurie is the babysitter, so she's being more vigilant because she's watching the kids, so she realizes the danger faster and rushes to protect them. Which I guess I just I know I kind of had the same I mean, that's like, I mean, I'm not going to put that on them if that's what they didn't intend. Like, that matters as much as our interpretation of it, because anybody who watches this movie and perceives it that way, like, oh, only the promiscuous girls get killed, I'm not going to tell them they're wrong for interpreting it that way, you know. But I just thought that was interesting that they said that was never their intention.
Yeah. It's, you know why I roll my eyes is because it's absolute bullshit, because if it was reversed, like, you know, the heterosexual reverse roles, where it's a guy was running to the woman, he would be a hero. But because it's a woman running to the guy or to spend time with the guy, she's seen, you know, in a negative light. And it's absolute bullshit. It's like, that really annoys me, because and it's obvious why it's so sexist. It's because when people, and I hate getting myself into hot water, when they put together these kind of films, they want the woman to seem available and as you know, an icon, a potential like crush for the audience. I'm trying to say it in a nice way. They want it to be desirable, and an instinct. Oh God, this is bad. An instinct is, you know, if they put her with another man, it's not always as desirable as. It's just it's very annoying, because that's seen as a negative for her to spend time with her boyfriend. But if it was the other way around, it's seen romantic if the guy wants to be with the girl. Like, I just think about, like, I don't know if it's like the same thing, but like in movies like Evil Dead, like the relationship, because you're seen from like Bruce's perspective, it's seen romantic. But if you wanted to spend time with, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that just really bothers me, because it's just, if the woman's unavailable and as like a sex, well, I guess they're a sex symbol when they're having sex, but as like as a potential crush for the audience, it's a negative. But if I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
No, I do. No, I get it.
Yeah. It's very frustrating that they're being distracted. Like,
that was just I know. I saw that when I listened to that for the first time, and that was ages ago. When I listened to that commentary, I was kind of like, okay. I guess I want to point out too, while we're on the topic, because I was trying to look up, you know, I was trying to dig for stuff like about these two movies, because I know people have very strong feelings about the remake compared to the original. But I found an article, it was on Parade, and take that as you will, about why Halloween is like one of the best horror movies ever. And the very first point they make in the article is that it respects women. The movie respects women. And so I didn't read the whole article, but I definitely read that portion of it, because I was like, all right, I got to hear their reasoning. The only 2 points that I could figure out from what they were saying was like that the dialogue was written, the dialogue between Laurie and her friends was written by Deborah Hill. So because it was written by another woman, it respects women. And the only other like reasoning I could get from that was that Siskel and Ebert said so. So I don't know. Directly from the article, it says producer Deborah Hill wrote the dialogue between the 3 female high school aged leads to give it authenticity. They're funny, they small talk about boys, and they're believable. We like these people. Your face is like everything that my face was when I read that.
Thank you for your nightmare fuel, Caleb.
Thank you, Caleb.
Yeah, have you ever seen that Ariana Grande interview when she's like radio interview where it's like a snort, yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
They're like, if you had to pick between your phone, and makeup, they ask her?
Yeah.
And makeup, what would you pick? And she's like, do you think this is what girls fucking, this is everything
This
about?
is the
And
only
that's
thing we
what
have
it
to
reminds
choose
you of. They're like,
between.
it's so realistic because like the girls are talking to each other. Like...
About boys. That's what high school girls talk about, right? Boys.
Yeah. We let the girls speak to each other. How this really respects women because they can talk to each other. And there doesn't have to be a man. Actually, the whole thing is when they're having that conversation, and I'm talking about obviously the original, he's in the car watching them.
Yeah.
So like, what the fuck are you on about? Oh God, that boils my blood.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it's not that I think that Halloween disrespects women. I don't think that at all.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's like a pro-feminist film by any means or anything like that. I mean, I think it's quite neutral, except for the naked thing with the dude. He puts his clothes back on. He should have just been, and they didn't have to show anything, but it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a lot. I don't know what Parade is. What kind of website is that? Where you said you got that?
Sorry. It's like that was on their website. It's also like a print publication. They usually do like kind of like entertainment sort of stuff. Sorry, I should have.
No, that's okay. You just said take from that what you will, and I was like, am I meant to know what this is? What kind of publication is it? Does it have an angle?
They're not like a like horror publication only or anything. So. But yeah,
that's fine.
I just thought that was interesting, and considering like Rob Zombie's remake too, which has some of those same things, but I feel like something people don't talk about is that Annie, like Danielle Harris's character, takes her top off, has sex, and survives, at least until the sequel. I mean, spoiler alert. Sorry, I don't know if anyone was gonna watch his sequel, but but she survives till the end of the movie. Yeah,
she does survive. And I guess this is a great time to talk about Sherry Moon and her role, because I'm very interested to hear what you guys think in the comments, and especially what you have to say, Vicky. I'm excited to hear what you say about this, because Rob Zombie, this is just a stylization of his, I guess, and I think a lot of people don't like this film because they just don't like him anyway. So he's a pretty he's got a big stylization to his films, not even just the way they look, the dialogue, the grittiness, and the darkness that he puts into it. So obviously in his film, he gave the household a different layer, and he does the stepdad that's just fucking horrendous. Sexualizing the younger daughter. And he's just awful. He's absolutely awful. But what's interesting is that, because I try and bring it up in like almost like this house that's meant to be like lower class, and but it's a quite nice house. I don't know if you like, it doesn't look like they're squatting or anything. Like, it looks like a really nice house. So it doesn't really make much sense for me. But they're trying to do like a family that is, growing up with issues and disturbances and within the household. And they show that between even the way they interact, the mother figure and the father figure. But the mum is a sex worker. She's a stripper. And there's this random ass scene that has nothing to do with anything of her just stripping on the pole. And I get it. This is why I say it's stylization. It's very much, Rob Zombie stylization. He likes, not that it's the darker side, because this is the whole problem, is it's like a misconception, and it's also painting sex work in a bad light to say that it's like the darker and everyone's struggling, because people don't, I don't know if everyone knows this in the chat, but people don't just do sex work because they struggle. Some people like it. So, and people make a lot of money doing it as well. So it's
crazy concept.
I think it's bad. And it's a bad way to represent that in that regard. And it also feels like it's just put in there for stylization purposes. And then also what I mentioned about the start with having this dysfunctional kind of home life. they make the mum a stripper because they feel like that will fit the role. So I just think that there's a couple of things that doesn't really make much sense, especially because it has nothing to do with the whole thing. She could have been like a nurse working late and struggling to get by and fit into that role a little bit better. It would just seem like a stylization choice to make her that. And I don't know if that's a plus or no. What do you think?
I'm conflicted on it because I feel like the way, aside from the random scene where like you see her doing her job, which doesn't have anything to do with anything other than look, she's doing the job we said she does.
Yeah, and it's meant to be showing she's not at home while he's doing all that crazy stuff. But
aside
that's
from that,
kind of it.
Yeah, I feel like comparatively, she's far from the worst character in the movie. Like she's absent from the home a lot because of her work, but she's very attentive to Michael and everything, and maybe doesn't have the best
even
taste in
after
men. Even after
she comes and visits him every week, and
she's always sweet to him, and she defends Michael even in that scene, like when the principal like calls in Sam Loomis and everything. Like she's very she gives big mama bear energy, and the bully even makes fun of Michael for like having like this stripper mom. He pulls out like the ad or whatever. So I feel like out of every sex worker depicted in a movie, this one airs more on the side of more respectful. Not the best, but it's not, it's not the worst. But at the same time, to your point, she didn't need to be that. I understand that. Like she didn't need to be a sex worker. I think it's more like he was driving home that they're like a white trash family, and to him, I think that equated. That's basically what I was looking for. I forget that's like that's a good way to say it in America. No, and I get that. And, at the same time, it is just a job. So sorry, I got a nut. It is just a job and nothing is wrong with it. But, and I guess that does make more sense why they pull the bullying in there, because then at least they have something harsh to say why he's getting bullied at school. Because people are saying these awful, sexual things about his mom. So I guess that does make more sense. But I think it was just like that scene, because she could have, inferred that she was a sex worker, but it was just that scene that like he's like killing the family and she's just on the pole, and it's just like, it's so Rob Zombie though. Like it's exactly what you expect. But I just think it was really interesting because I don't know. Like it was just the juxtaposition of like a child murdering a family and then the mom. And that's why it's a conflicting
at work.
thing. Yeah. That's why I'm conflicted about it, because it's like, she didn't need to be that, but it is very Rob Zombie.
Yeah, no, I'm very conflicted too. But it's so sad that they paint, if they're trying to, and I mean, all of these films are white trash, right? It's so sad that they have to make her a stripper to say that she's white trash. But also they have that scene when she leaves the club and you can see she gets into a client's car and then later she returns in a taxi. So obviously she's doing, home jobs as well. So escorting. So very, I don't know, just interesting stuff. Obviously we like to delve into everything here. I'm loving your comments, guys. BR said before, progressive ideas, spooky astronauts. Next thing you'll say is that women should get paid as much as men, which I loved. So you guys have really good comments. Keep them coming. And thank you for all the Nightmare Fuel. Sorry, I think we missed saying thank you to Sketchy Ed. So thank you. And I think we got you, George. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
The drama of it all.
Seriously.
Yeah. One thing I realized that we did not write in here, and I've just realized this because DC Carter wrote it. Michael, how he killed that animal.
I know.
The cat. It was a cat, right?
It's a mouse, a rat.
Oh, it was a mouse? Okay.
Mouse.
That was just.
Like that?
Oh yeah, because he comes downstairs and he says,
he had to flush.
Blah blah blah's dead, and then they said, "Why you have a rat anyway?" Like that old man says. Just like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's definitely some animal killing in both, but very different. And I guess this is the perfect way to talk about the huge differences in the film between Halloween is so famous because there's no blood and gore. Like this is the perfect comparison because the dog dies off screen, and then in the remake you see all of the blood and guts. I know you've got some points on this. Did you want to dive into that?
Oh yeah.
If you can find.
Yeah, just in the
so much going on.
I know. I have a big list of like the criticisms of this movie that we hear all the time, I'm sure. Like in every discussion, if it gets brought up or whatever, everyone brings up. We all know that everybody hates Rob Zombie's remake because it gives Michael the backstory and whatever. Which I have to.
It gives context to the situation.
Right, yeah. I just have to point out, just if I could play devil's advocate for like 1 second. I understand why the first one, I get it because he's so mysterious. I get it. It's very cool. And it is scary. It is really scary, like that you don't have a motive. But the rest of the franchise, does it not try and explain what he does? Like in the sequel, there's like so many different timelines in this franchise. There are some in which Laurie is his sister, so that's a motive. There's like confusing. The Cult of Thorn stuff, I think that's right. That's also a motive and an explanation to like why he is. Don't worry about it. Why he is.
I'm Australian.
But that's also explanation as to why he is the way he is. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out there. And this is just another entry in the franchise. So it's like, I don't understand why everybody picks on this one so much for that specific reason. Unless they also follow up with like, they don't normally like Rob Zombie's movies, in which case I totally understand you not liking this one because it very much fits into his aesthetic and style. And if you're just not into that, that's fine, because I feel like most of his movies are like that gritty, kind of like grungy 70s, like exploitation feel, which is like Emma started off like the whole difference between the two. Like there's a whole lot of like graphic violence in Rob Zombie's remake. And that's another big criticism of the movie, was that it seems like violence for shock value. Like, here's this like hyper violent thing. It's almost like just like, I don't know, like I'm not saying he did it like in direct response to the original, but they're like opposite ends of the spectrum, where the original was very suspense over buckets of blood, and Rob Zombie's was like, well, I'm gonna do the exact opposite of that, but which is a big difference. But I feel like that just boils down to like a personal preference thing. Like some people don't like a lot of gore, some people don't care either way, some people
for sure. And also like budget wise and all that kind of stuff, why it was originally made that way. I do wonder, I didn't look into this too much, I was trying to figure it out though, how did it all come to be? Like, how did he get the rights to remake it and also use the original song in it? I thought that was pretty crazy that like John Carpenter gave him all of that. I don't know. Like, I just thought that was so crazy that you could do a remake like that, but also use the original song. It was a lot, especially, you know, it's so classic. I don't really know many other remakes that allow them to use the original opening without it being remixed or anything. I know it is remixed in some points, but not the whole thing. So I just thought that was really interesting, like where this whole idea of him even being able to do the greatest American like horror movie of all time, like who gave Rob Zombie the rights? Like literally, like who gave him the right? Like,
well, I know that I think he John Carpenter okayed it. I mean, he obviously would have had to get permission from him to do it, because he wrote that. I think, right? He wrote the theme at least.
No, he did it in like he did all the music, which it's just insane. People are saying that someone said David Lynch should direct a Halloween. I totally agree with that. And people said the studio owned the song, I believe, and made him use it. I mean, no one can make you use that, but why wouldn't you use it? Like, it's such an incredible...
I don't know about that because Rob Zombie is very... I mean, I'm not disputing what you're saying, but I feel like Rob Zombie's very, like, he knows what he wants, like, out of his... Like, he knows, like, what he wants them to, like, look like and sound like and feel like. So I feel like if he didn't want that in there, he wouldn't have put it in there.
Yeah. Well, I think someone else said that he didn't want to use the original theme. He wanted to distance himself from the classic as much as possible. That's what George was saying, but I don't know.
Interesting. That'd be interesting to look into. I feel like there was like some stuff between like him and John Carpenter that was like weird and just kind of like messy. So I didn't look. I
imagine.
Yeah, I didn't look too much into the.
Yeah,
like,
I imagine it would be
the drama of all that, but I mean, it could be. Yeah, it could have been a studio thing. So that's just interesting because I feel like he's usually so in control of what his movies are like that it's interesting.
Thank you for your nightmare fuel.
I'm offended by that too.
Back on topic.
Sorry, yes.
No, you're fine. You're doing... Yeah. I mean, I've kind of... I guess, like, the one thing that I don't really want to cover, but I think we have to cover if it was a Does This Offend You stream, is the intense sexual violence rape scene is what I'm trying to say in the 2007 version, which is the reason that because in the original he kind of is already on the loose, breaking out when they're going to visit the hospital. But in the remake, of course, they like to explain everything. So they're explaining how he gets out. And he gets out because these two, like a new guard, he brings in someone else and his cousin, and they are sexually assaulting another inmate. It's not an inmate, another patient in his room. And that is the most intense scene. Like I just can't even. And I think something that we need to talk about is the fact that Mike Myers doesn't do anything until they touch his masks. He's actually not concerned at all about that until they start fucking with his masks. Like, they're not concerned what's happening with the girl in the scene. It's a really intense scene, and it's really hard to watch. Probably one of the worst ones I've seen in a horror movie, to be honest. Yeah, very brutal. I guess obviously if this does this offend you, so you have to bring that up. Yeah, and
you guys are right. They're just saying that that's the director's cut, and that I guess that was not in the theatrical.
Oh, it wasn't in there. I must have not seen the theatrical cut then, because that's the only one I've seen.
Same, yeah. I've only seen the directors or the unrated. Thank you, George.
Sorry, I'm getting tea.
No, you're okay. So George says Carpenter told Zombie to make the film his own and meant to be supportive, but got pissed when Zombie described him as dismissive. Yeah, that's the thing I read. He said John Carpenter was really cold to him or something, and it was weird. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's never going to be easy, you wouldn't think.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... Yeah. But that makes sense, I guess, that being in the unrated version, because I can't really see that being shown in theaters.
Okay, so I wonder what happened in the theatrical cut. They just went into the room and then... Do you know what I mean? I don't understand how it happened.
I'm sure we can find that somewhere. Yeah, I'm not sure because that's such an integral part of how he gets out, because they bring her into the room.
But maybe they just go in there and mess with him, and that's how he gets out. But it's so weird for them to film that and then to cut. Yeah, I don't know. That's just a weird thing to dismiss, but it is what it is. Anyway, moving on. Just had to mention that. Onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the fan stuff?
Oh, yeah. Which is...
We'll get into the good stuff.
Yeah, which is kind of the reason why we thought of it a little bit. One, because
I don't think we've been too controversial yet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one, because it's Halloween. That's why we were doing this. But also because we've both experienced the fans of this franchise before. And putting it nicely, they're very passionate about this movie.
Yeah.
And if you act in any way, this is gonna come off like petty and mean, but if you act in any way like ambivalent towards the first one, suddenly you don't have any taste in movies or anything. And I've done a couple of videos on the franchise. Like, I watched them all once to rank them, and when the 2018 sequel came out and everything like that. And I always talk about how I like the Rob Zombie remake. Like, I don't hate it. But I've gotten comments like saying like, people like harping on my age. Like, I must be barely into my 20s to put Halloween 2017 as my second favorite, which, for context, I put the first one as my favorite. So it's like, you literally
and that's the
can't
timeline.
win.
Isn't that the new timeline as well? Like 1 and 2, you're just discrediting the other timeline. Isn't that the new timeline? Isn't it 1 and 2? Like the original and then the new one?
Halloween and Halloween? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why they
call
the sequel Halloween, I have no fucking idea, but yeah. Yes, that's another new timeline now with Halloween.
That's the timeline I subscribe to. It doesn't mean I have to include anything else. It is the timeline I subscribe to. None of the other ones matter. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, guys.
It is. I'm sorry. I make jokes about it all the time, but the timelines are really all over the place. Like,
yeah. I think everyone knows that.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I haven't done any videos really on Halloween. Only because I'm a little bit I'm not indifferent. I think when I did that piece that I spoke about, actually I'll put it in the chat, that I spoke about for Dread Central. That's when and it's only, I think I did it last year or the year before. Yeah. That was the first time that I really found an appreciation for Halloween. It's just because I didn't look into it too much. I didn't pay too much attention to it. I watched the film. I thought it was okay, but Halloween not being a big thing in Australia as well, it's very different. There, it's very much a nostalgia factor. Everyone goes up and talks about this Halloween film. Here, not so much, because it's not really celebrated as a time of the year. Yeah. So there's not a lot backing it. Well, in America and in other countries, in Canada, you guys are the odd ones out, by the way. Most of the world doesn't celebrate Halloween, just in case you didn't know that. So yeah, a lot of us, it doesn't have the same backing. It has as much backing as Jaws does. You know what I mean? Like, it's just as famous in a way. So it wasn't until I did this piece that I realized, did research and realized all of the ins and outs and why it was created. And obviously I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter's, more his music. I love his music. I think it's just incredible. Yeah. That's the what I'm talking about. I just posted it. Yeah, so I wasn't a big fan, and then there's so many other people who used to rank them and talk about Halloween on YouTube, and my channel just isn't about that at all, and I'd rather leave it up to people who are super passionate about it. But in turn, when the new one came out, and I was like, yeah, all right. Everyone was like, what? What do you mean? All right. And everyone got really mad at me, Seriously? But I didn't hate it. But then people got mad because I didn't hate it, and then people got mad because I didn't love it. And yeah, it's just, and it's a Blumhouse film, right? Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Am I thinking about that? Yes. Yeah. Because I remember when I did my Blumhouse, I did a ranking of Blumhouse and I didn't put Halloween in it. And oh my God, there's like 170, I think horror movies, maybe there's 97, 70, something. Anyway, there's in the higher, up just under 100 Blumhouse horror films. I picked 20 that I absolutely loved, and unfortunately, a lot of them that I do like weren't in the list. But if it's your top 20, I'm sorry, but Halloween, the new one, wasn't in my top 20, and people were so mad. Yeah. But people can't make up their mind whether we're meant to love it or hate it. We're just meant to do whatever they feel like that day, I guess. So
yeah, because it was the same thing for me. I was like in the middle of it. I didn't hate it and I didn't love it either. Yeah. And, oh my goodness.
And I mean, it was fun to go see, Jamie Lee Curtis kick some ass.
Yeah.
I think we all liked that.
Yeah.
But I'm not so attached to the series that it's like my ride or die kind of. I would have, yeah. And I mean, a lot of people, it's really interesting because a lot of people have been posting, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about how this was going to be this week that Halloween Kills was going to be released. So everyone was like making posts, like, actually being like, I remember, like, could you imagine an alternate reality when we could have, an alternate timeline when none of this happened and we could be watching it right now? And I hate saying this, but to me, I'm like, okay, I can I'll want to see it. Like, I'd rather would have seen Candyman, but
yeah,
it is what it is. I still can't see Saint Maud, but it is what it is.
I just feel like they're maybe the most vocal. I don't know. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I guess. Like, out of all, like, the, like, fandoms within the horror genre, I Halloween is the most vocal.
Because even though people love Friday the 13th, I feel like people are happy to let you kind of fall wherever you want with that one.
Yeah.
But with Halloween, you have to. And when I rewatched Halloween this is going to make you laugh so much, Vicky. Okay. When I rewatched Halloween for this stream, I didn't want to rate it. Sometimes I just like can't be, if I'm going to talk about it anyway, sometimes I don't want to put too much into the rating on Letterboxd, but it came up with my initial rating because I was watching it again. My initial rating for it is 7 out of 10, and one movie before it was Hubie's Halloween, and I also rated that 7 out of 10. So I was like looking at these side by side, and I'm like, there is going to be a problem here. So I rated like the most classic horror movie. Famous Adam Sandler. But I can't help it. Like, they're different, but like
they're both 7 out of 10 in different ways, guys.
Yeah, it's only 10, guys. There's only 10 numbers to choose from. And I know that's so disrespectful. I'm so sorry, guys, but you just you just have to, things are different and you like them, and it just happens sometimes. It happens.
Thank you for sharing, because I don't think any of us would have noticed that you rated them the same, but now we know that forever.
Yeah. When I did my monthly wrap up, I was a little bit worried about it, but it's going to happen, but that's totally fine. But I don't know, man, like, yeah. No, rating itself is so hard.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So much is, like, so many people think that is the final thing that you think about the film is just the rating score. But that's how we do videos, is because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the backlash is pretty extreme. So it's a lot to say anything about Halloween online these days, and people just rip it apart. And so that's why I'm okay to take a back seat, because I'd rather let people who are super passionate talk about it.
Yeah.
Except for today.
We now have Emma's like official stance on Halloween.
Well, I think I just got like 100 people unsubscribing.
I'm sure that's not the case. Did we cover everything?
I don't know. Have we covered everything? If you guys have any questions or any topics you want to bring up on this, because it's a little bit back and forth with everything we're talking about, please let us know. Did you want to... No, I don't really want to... Yeah, I'm trying to see. No, I think you covered everything.
Yeah.
Did you want to say this one, or you're good? It's just a quote.
Oh, the joke? Is that what you're talking about? Did you highlight it?
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Oh, the highlight.
Oh, I kind of went over it.
The joke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's not whoever wrote it, that was a direct quote, because it's not it's not written very well, so it's hard to read it out loud, because it's not, there's no punctuation or anything. We
were just talking about some of the feedback that Vicky got, but she paraphrased it.
Yeah, I paraphrased it for your guys' benefit.
Yeah, we do have the joke, but I mean, I don't know if that fits. It's up to you.
That was just a random thing that I noticed that time, that Bob makes a pedophilia joke in the original that I never like. I don't know, maybe I just like was never paying attention that hard whenever he was talking or something, but he like makes.
Do you want to just say it?
Yeah, he may. I'm sure everybody. I hope. Well, I don't know. Do you guys all notice?
I didn't notice it at all.
Yeah,
I didn't notice it.
Like, it's when Bob and Linda are in the car in the original one, and they're drunk, and Bob is like, "So first you rip off my clothes, then I rip off your clothes, then we rip off Lindsay's clothes," and then it like just registered in my brain as I was watching it. I was like, "Wait a second, Lindsay's the little girl that Annie's supposed to be babysitting." Like, maybe it's because I have the captions on this time that I noticed he said that, but I was like, what the like, that was like, there's no way, like, that got kept in the movie. Like,
yeah, no, I never even noticed that.
Yeah. Just a weird thing.
Yeah, no, that is very weird.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Doesn't come into play.
And I just noticed when you were talking about this, totally off topic, I'm using my gene from Bob's Burgers, and you said Bob and Linda, and that's the parents in Bob's Burgers.
Oh my gosh. I wonder if that's where they got it.
A reference.
Is Bob's Burgers canon? Like,
yeah, crazy. I guess also because we were talking about, people brought this up in the chat before, because we were just talking about Lindsay. Lindsay's played by, I forgot her name now, Richards. Is it Richards? You guys, I'm sure you're going to correct me straight away in the comments. She's one of the housewives of Beverly Hills. I don't know if you knew this, Vicky. Did you?
Ben, anyway. Ben let me know, like, 30 minutes before the stream.
I was stunned because I know this is really bad. I watched the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I regret the whole process. I've stopped myself, guys. I pulled the Band-Aid off. But there's actually a lot of horror in there because the main chick of it, Kyle Richards. Thank you, Kyle Richards. Kim Richards is the sister. Kyle Richards, she is the main chick in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and she's she's Lindsay. Oh, okay. But Jamie Lee Curtis is in one of the episodes, and Kyle talks about how she was like really tired on set, and Jamie Lee Curtis like stopped everything and carried her to like the trailer so she could go to sleep. And they've been like really good friends ever since. And she was always like such a badass, like looking after like the kids on set when it was, tight turnarounds and all this. And I just thought it was really nice. And I know if I didn't mention that, because people going on and on, I saw before, well, as soon as we mentioned her name, everyone's like, oh my God, Real Housewives. But yeah, small world, but I guess that's Hollywood. Yeah.
That's cute.
I think that's it, guys. If you have any more questions or any more comments that you want to do about, if you want to say about Halloween, please let us know.
Yeah.
Yes, she is the aunt of.
Yeah. I didn't do a poll because I figured I knew how if I had asked you guys, one, there would have been like 5 million comments about how could Halloween possibly be offensive, and then everyone would have just voted for Rob Zombies. So.
Isn't it really funny? Because usually we get, and we said this last time, we went on a rant about how we get these messages saying, oh my God, none of these are offensive. If you think, but with this one, we didn't get any of those. People actually said, I am very offended by that film. So that's quite funny. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed that, but yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's hilarious.
But yeah, I guess all in all, we're pretty chill about the whole. Thank you so much for your Nightmare Fuel, Rob.
And thank you again, Mike. I think we were talking when you did.
Sorry, Mike. Thank you for Nightmare Fuel. I think all in all, we're pretty indifferent to. More to the fandom and to the
That's worth noting. It's more the fans. Yeah. Fans.
Yeah. I do like the original movie, but I do think sometimes it's dampened by the gatekeeping of liking the film and what you have to think about the film. Yeah. And I think that's unfortunate. It's making people not want to, and that's the thing, what Vicky was saying before about someone commenting on her video saying like, you must be this much X amount of age because of, how you think about this. It's making people not want to watch classic movies and not want to get into them because they feel like they don't have a spot or they can't be allowed into the fandom because they're too young, or they, didn't get into it soon enough, didn't grow up with it. It's not in your nostalgia and all that. And, especially as like someone from a different country other than America, I definitely feel that way. So it just makes you not want to touch it or not want to talk about it, which is really unhelpful for the horror, for us having communities talking about horror. Yeah. So
you feel like you can't be mindful part of the conversation.
For sure. And that's that on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think someone says favorite scenes from each film. I have not watched all of the films, just
I think they probably just meant the 2 Halloweens we're talking about. But...
Oh, okay. I thought they wanted us to go through
from the whole
favorite
franchise.
Scenes.
Go.
I know. I was like, I don't. I was gonna say, Joe. What would be your favorite scene?
I don't know. I'm thinking. It's tough. Yeah, probably in the first one. I think maybe when Laurie's running from Michael, like out in the neighborhood, and she is like banging on the door for help, and they like assume it's a Halloween prank, and like they like open the windows, look at her, and turn off the lights on her. Like it's just maybe that's weird to be like a favorite thing, but it's such like a scary thing to happen, like if you're being chased by somebody and people like on Halloween and people just assume it's a prank. I feel like it's like a really subtle thing, but it's like super super scary. I really like that scene.
Yeah, I like her like slightly flared pants.
Yeah.
She's got very long legs. I appreciate anyone who has long legs. I'm 5 foot, so I love that. Because like, why do I say this shit? Yeah. Me.
I don't know about the remake though.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I can't. I mean, I always, as I said before, I always think of the closet scene. That's always like the big one. I just like the shadows and the texture in that, so I guess I would pick that. But I also love like the whole hedge scene. I know it's like pretty stereotypical. You can see the background here.
Yeah.
But I like that. It's just cool when they have scary things, and the whole idea of the shape is almost like he's the shadow, and to have him in the middle of the day, I think that's kind of cool. Yeah. But in the newer film, I don't know, to be honest. When I first saw this film, I was like, I don't know why people are so mad. But when I rewatched it this time, I'm like, yeah, this is just taking some liberties. Like,
when you watch it in the context of this show,
And I mean, it's pretty good watching them back to back. I'm sure a lot of people have probably seen Halloween a lot more than me, but when you watch them back to back, you can see exactly what lines they're mimicking or like mirroring, and just the different scenes that they really mirror throughout, which I think is really cool. But I don't think I really have a favorite scene. I hate one of the scenes of it, other than like what we've spoken about. Mm-hmm. I hated the scene when this is gonna be just a small bit of dialogue when Sherry Moon was like walking around with Michael in the hospital, she's like telling him to take off these masks and stuff, and it was just really bad acting in that one moment. I really like her, to be honest. That's the okay. Thank you for your Nightmare Fuel.
Thank you, Nightmare. For the Nightmare Fuel. I don't know if that is.
But yeah, I don't know, just those scenes where they're like really trying to like show time progression and that she's there, and it just seemed so forced, and it wasn't like a natural transition, and she keeps telling him to take off his mask, and I don't know, it just bugged me, like it just, the whole acting and setup of that scene. I don't know, I think I liked him more as a kid though. But
yeah, that was like a lot more compelling. I can't really pinpoint a scene that I like. Maybe just any scene where you like see just how much of like a refrigerator the Tyler Mane is, who plays older Michael in the Rob Zombie one. Like,
oh, okay,
he's just a big dude, and that like scares the shit out of me because he's just huge. Like. He's really, really scary in that regard. Like, he's just like a big dude.
Yeah, and when he goes to the gas station. Don't say petrol to Americans.
Like, what?
Oh my God, I did that once. I asked for petrol at a gas station in America, and it was a fucking big deal. gas station when he goes into like I believe it's a gas station. He goes into the toilet, and that's like the guy's like going to the toilet, and the guy's like, "I'm gonna get you." He's got like a knife, and the guy Michael's like, but did you see me?" Like, he's just like, no, and just like whacks him.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. But yeah, I think that's the size of them is so different because it's almost like he's meant to be this big scary dude with a unkept dude, but in the original he's just the mysteriousness is the scare, not the size of him.
Yeah,
which I think is interesting.
So I'm just trying to use context clues to figure out what the retcon is.
I looked it up.
Maybe I'm just stupid.
No, I googled it just before. I'm stupid too. Don't worry, I've got that.
He's a refrigerator, guys. It's a thing.
I got from retcons is in a film, television, or fictional work a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation of the previously described events, typically used to facilitate a dramatic plot shift or account for an inconsistency. But I'm not too sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I guess changing it to change who he was, I assume.
Oh, okay. I have a film studies degree and I've never heard that term before.
No, me either.
Yeah.
And I have two. So
yeah.
I've never heard either. Retcon. Okay, there you go. Is that how I say it? Retcon? Retcon of ignoring anything after the original sequel. There you go. We learned something today.
Okay,
we should both use those in a new video. Homework.
The word of the day.
I'm going to use that and going to wink. Everyone thinks it's so funny that you called him a fridge.
He's a
You said that.
That's how I describe big dudes like that. There's just a refrigerator.
I was, when you first said it, I was like, was there a fridge that was like in the middle of a shot that like then I understood what you were saying.
Yeah. No, he's just a big dude. I think
that's it. Thank you guys so much for coming, and thanks for we were really feeling ourselves around that one. It was like it was hard to figure out where to go back and forth. But I think if you guys like this kind of context and setup, let us know, because there's a lot of these. I mean, we have done Green Inferno and Cannibal Holocaust. Technically, that was our first one we did.
Yeah.
And I guess that technically is inspired by remake. But let us know, because I'd be happy to do another remake in the future if you think that there is one that is as controversial as this. Other than Black Christmas, we've already covered that.
Well, there is another remake to that, so we could.
Oh yeah, I'm watching it for my 13 days of horror. So
we could.
We could. We could do Black Christmas versus Black Christmas versus Black Christmas.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
How would we even say? We'd have to just go by year, when we talk about it.
You think this one was messy with our?
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Thanks for hanging out.
Make sure all of Emma's stuff is in the description. Her channel, her Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. So is a playlist for all the past episodes, if there are any you want to catch up on. We have 30 now. This is number 30.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Including the lost episode?
Huh? Oh,
including the lost episode?
We don't talk about the lost episode.
Everyone's gonna be like, what the fuck?
Don't worry about it, guys. Don't worry about it. But we have a lot of episodes, so the playlist is down there also. And yeah, look forward to more like Halloween content on both of our channels. I'm doing 31 Days of Halloween. Emma's doing 13 Days of Halloween. Horror. I combine them, so I get confused. Of horror. So make sure you.
Look how different we say horror. I say horror. You say horror.
Horror. Okay, thanks for coming, guys. And we'll see you next month with another one. Bye. Let me figure out how to end this. It's gonna take me 7 tries. Bye. Yeah.